Control has made a slight resurface with it releasing more DLCs, it being free on Steam, and at one point even on PlayStation Plus. If you haven't played it yet, shame on you, because everything you've ever heard about it is true. It's fantastical. Before we get into that, if you enjoy this video, please drop a like. Control was released in 2009 by 505 Games, developed by Remedy Entertainment, the people behind the OG Max Payne and Alan Wake. The game takes place at the Federal Bureau of Control, a government agency tasked with investigating supernatural altered world events. You play as Jesse Faden, who is looking for her brother. She follows a voice that leads her to the oldest house. The story is very weird and unpredictable. You never quite know where it's going to take you next. That's really all what you need to know about the story, because the game does the rest to grab you and pull you into its own astral plane. With beautiful visuals, great graphics, weird and sometimes unsettling environments, it kind of reminds me a lot of the FX show Legion. You don't really get what's going on in the early aughts of the show, but you can't stop looking at it. Speaking of X-Men, this game is the closest I'm ever going to get to know what it feels like to be a powerful mutant. As Jesse, you get to fly, dodge, pull rubble out of the wall to create a force field, use telekinetic powers to throw virtually anything at the Hiss. The Hiss are your bad guys. I mean, the less you know, the better. I'm trying to save you here. The flying just feels so good. It's less flying and it's more levitating like a badass. Along with those set of powers, you get what is known as the service weapon, which is an object of power tied to the astral plane, aka a shape-shifting firearm that transforms into different guns. There are 6 different forms, each with its own set of upgrades, functions, and mods. You can craft mods, but most of the time you'll be picking them up after a fight. The mods can give you a boost in HP, ammo, melee damage. There are also mods for Jessie herself, like strength of shield, levitation duration, and much more. Each mod has different levels, and obviously the more you progress, the better mods you will get. But you do get to one point where you're just carrying around a bunch of mods and end up recycling them to, well, make more mods. There's also a skill tree where you level her up to make her even more of a badass. It's very basic, nothing that catches your eye per se. Even though each gun has its own feel, I mainly stuck to 2 or 3 of them. It could have been because I didn't have the right mods on the rest, and figuring out what works the best for you is what's cool about it. We all have the same 6 form of guns, but modding them to your own personal liking is what makes all the difference. Gunplay is fast and slick. Firing your weapon feels powerful and satisfying. The hits are kind of bullet sponges, which adds to the difficulty, but this game is no walk in the park. It's a challenging Metroidvania third-person shooter with puzzles that can leave your head scratching for a while. Early on, it could feel overwhelming with side missions and timed events along with collectibles and no blatant red arrow pointing towards where to go. But stick with it, please, it's worth it. The collectibles add so much more, with reports and audio logs that help you piece the story together. Most games have random files and logs that don't mean anything, but Control actually had me reading it because it simply pays off in the end. All throughout the oldest house, there are these control points where they serve as checkpoints. It allows you to upgrade and fast travel, change outfits and stuff. This is where you get sent back after dying, and it's usually ways back. This adds way more pressure for you not to die because you don't want to hate all the way back. A huge shining point for me were the boss battles. With challenging and creepy, awesome looking bosses, each battle being a small puzzle in and of itself. The look and feel of some of these bosses are so imposing, they can leave you staring at them for a second before you try to figure out where to go next. Most of the footage is from the DLC. Don't worry, I won't spoil anything. In the DLC, and one of them, Alan Wake, gets introduced, and I do believe that out of all of the Remedy games, these 2 are the most compatible. These 2 worlds feel and look the same. I buy that they're from the same universe. In the DLC, you get an extra weapon, and Alan Wake enemies also come into play. And if you know anything about that, you might know how to take care of those. You can see the love and respect they have for their own Alan Wake. But ultimately, the DLC is a little bit more of the same. I don't feel it's a must-play DLC. DLC rarely is nowadays. But it does add another 10 hours to your experience in this weird, freaky world. Control takes the Metroidvania subgenre and adds very interesting characters and lore while still doing its best and being a fun game. That's how it's supposed to be. Levitating around, making the Hiss eat chunks of the wall. It's fun to fling a dead bunny across the room or into another Hiss. Control is very, very fun. So Have you played Control? Are you missing the DLC? Let me know where you at down in the comments. If you like my little reviews, please drop a like and don't forget to subscribe. Until next time, always and forever, you do you.